Good afternoon and welcome to Wholesome Roots. Today I'm doing a collaboration with Daybird Aviaries, and this collaboration is celebrating Pi Day. Today is March 14th, 3.14 Pi. So I'm going to do what I told you I was going to do and show you a recipe on how to use up some of these excess eggs that we have been given as a major problem on our homestead. If you haven't seen that video already, we have a problem. Got lots of views from lots of people and lots of suggestions on what we can do with eggs. And my #1 favorite recipe with eggs is probably gonna be egg custard pie. Delicious and yummy. So I'm going to make that for you guys today. Now I would say, you know, here's how I make my pie crust, but I don't have time for that today. So I picked up some refrigerated pie crust in the refrigerator section near the cheese. That's organics. So I'm just going to roll out those pie crusts and put them into my pie dish, and I'll show you how to make the filling and use whatever your favorite pie crust recipe is. Alright, for your recipe you're going to need 3 eggs, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. I use fresh ground nutmeg, and I actually use a little bit more than a 1/4 teaspoon. 3/4 cup of organic sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and I use Pink Himalayan Salt. And also 2.5 cups of hot whole milk, or half and half. I'm going to be using duck eggs because I have lots of them, and I'm going to be using my goat milk, which is a nice heavy cream milk. First step is to whisk your eggs vigorously. Get them all beat up. I gotta break those yolks on those strong yolks on these duck eggs. See how bright orange they are from such a healthy diet. We use non-GMO layer pellets, and they get lots of weeds and bugs to eat all day long as they roam around in their paddock. So you saw there were 6 eggs. That's because I'm doubling the recipe. Remember, it's only 3 eggs for 1 recipe. But the pie crust I bought is this one here from Kroger brand, organic, and it comes with 2 crusts, so I'm gonna make 2 pies. And you have to let them sit out till they get to room temperature before you can roll them out. So I'm gonna finish whisking this, and then I can start adding in the other ingredients as well. Alright, I just have to show you guys this real quick. This is, do you see that cream line right there? That's all cream in a 1/2 gallon jar. For those of you that have never seen goat milk cream separate, look at that. This top layer is such a high fat content, it's solid. So all you do to get that to happen is put it in a very cold refrigerator and wait a couple of days for it to separate out. So I'm gonna actually pour off as much of that cream as possible for this recipe to make this custard pie even more divine. You're gonna set your oven to 400 degrees, let it preheat, get your pie crust ready. Some people pre-bake their pie crust if they want a crispier bottom. I don't really prefer one way or the other, so in the light of saving some time, I am just going to put my batter in and cover the outside crust so it doesn't burn. So I've got some pre-cut pieces of foil to cover that with. Alright, I'm going to add my heated milk, and I'm going to slowly incorporate it a little at a time, making sure it tempers just fine. So I'm just going to keep adding it until I have the full amount in. It's 2.5 cups for a single pie recipe. Just double the recipe if you want. Alright, once I have the foil around the outside, I'm going to actually place them into the oven. And I have a cookie sheet placed on the second rack so that if I do drip or spill, it won't make too much of a mess of my already messy oven. So I'm going to pull both racks out. I'm going to place the pie crust just above the cookie sheet. Remember, I'm doing a double recipe, but the recipe I'll put in the description will be for one. And then what I like to do, just make sure I give it one last stir before I scoop it out. And I use my measuring cup so that pouring will be a little bit easier. Just remember, custard pie is always going to drip. Always, always, always. It's a very liquidy content. So just be careful. Try to drip as little as possible. Just scrape it off the edge there. Of course, I'm dripping all over the door of my oven. Hence why my oven is always a mess. I'm kind of a messy cooker. Alright, and I'm going to put down my camera to fill the rest of the way up. I don't want to overfill and get it to spill too much, so I'm going to be real careful at the end here. Alright, you're going to set your timer for 15 minutes, and when that goes off, you're going to remove the aluminum foil and then set your timer again for another 15 minutes. It takes about 30 minutes. Sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit less, so keep an eye on it 5 minutes before you think it's going to be ready. And when you get a chance, just test it with a knife in the center and make sure it comes out clean. Let's see, that's just not quite done enough. I'm gonna have to let that cook a little bit longer, even though the crust is getting darker than I would prefer. I gotta make sure that that is set up well. Alright, this looks a little bit more set. The color has changed. I am going to call that set, even though it looks like it's got a little bit on the knife. The way it parted so perfectly. Yeah, it's going to cook for a little bit longer while it's out of the oven. Okay, you can either cool it for an hour and then serve it warm, or you can put it in the fridge after it cools for an hour and serve it cold. I cannot wait to try this. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Oh, steamy, yummy goodness. Alright, y'all. This is the final verdict. Mmm. Alright, I gotta be honest with you. I didn't wait the whole hour, so it's still pretty hot. But it is so good. Oh, I think we're just gonna have this for dinner tonight because it's actually pretty healthy and nutritious with all those duck eggs and goat milk. So I hope you guys get a chance to try this. I hope that you've enjoyed our pie day with Robert at Daybird Aviaries, and we'll see you next time on Wholesome Roots.